Hello and welcome to the Srijan Wednesday webinars. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is an initiative by Srijan where we have industry experts explore emerging technology trends and analyze how enterprises are driving their digital transformation efforts. In today's session, we are joined by Ori Bendet, Director of Product Development at Time to Know. Ori will be talking about why enterprise learning is critical to company revenues and how do you make sure that learning across the organization is happening effectively. Before we begin, I would like to request all participants to type in any questions that you have during the presentation, and we will take them up in the last 15 minutes of the session. Also, please don't forget to take the conversation live on Twitter using our hashtag StrijanWW. Now that that's over, let's get right to it. Ori, over to you.
Thank you very much. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. What we'll do today is we will actually cover how learning is critical across all of the organization. We will give a specific use case of why it is important to train your salesmen effectively. So let's start and understand where do we stand today with what is called the fourth industrial revolution. So we started more than 300 years ago with the first industrial revolution. We talked about steam power, the beginning of the first initial machines. Afterwards, we had around 80, 70, the mass production, the electric power, and the second revolution. We then moved to the power of computing that took us to the beginning of the digital world. And now we are actually a part of the fourth industrial revolution of the Internet of Things, of everything connected, of being connected anywhere, anytime, and on any device, which actually means that today's world is running faster than ever. If we will take a look at what happens in 1 minute in the internet today in 2018, then we can see that 40,000 hours of music is being listened on Spotify. We have almost 3,000 hours is being watched on Netflix every minute. Twitter has almost gotten to the phase of having almost 500,000 tweets are being sent every minute. And also Tinder has over 1 million swipe every minute. But the need for speed is not only something that the cool startups are having, but also organization have the need to run faster. And as you can see, 53% of all of the organization actually need and have pressure from their business to move quickly and to release their application, their services, their website much faster, mostly because they want to keep up with the competition. The second thing is around also by checking what is the key in key performing IT organization, then we can see that they are releasing more frequently, up to 200 times more than other low performers. And this is the thing that can actually highlight why we need to run faster. In today's world, we can also talk about our employees and what is called the modern learner. In a very nice article that was released in 2014 that talks about the modern learner, we notify and we notice that 1% is everything that our employees have to in a work week regarding their entire training and development. They are so caught up with the day-to-day activities that 1% is all they have during a regular work week. They have 5 to 10 seconds. We have actually 5 to 10 seconds to grab someone's attention before they click away. And our employees are checking 9 times their phones every hour. If you will do the calculation, it means that they are checking their phones more time than doing anything else that is not work related. And 41% of the time they spend on items that give them little personal satisfaction, but actually is not related. So if we summarize that, and you can see that this is actually the name of the report, it means that the current learner is impatient. He doesn't want to wait for anything. He just wants to get it as fast as possible. He's distracted, whether it's his phone, whether it's what's happening on social media, or whether it's all of the other distraction that occurs today in the internet, and they are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed with information. They are overwhelmed with the different system, and this actually kind of hurts their overall learning possibility and experience. So let's go one level down and talk a bit about product managers and a bit about what happens in one use case of training the salesman on or the field organization on their product that they need to sell. So regarding product managers, from a report that was done by Pragmatic Marketing in their annual survey, 47% of product managers own the sales channel training. 42 of all product managers go on sales call on a regular basis. And 77% of all product managers are answering sales questions by email, which means that they are distracted and need to answer these emails. And 47% are creating internal sales tools for the field organization. However, 71% of all product managers are actually measured directly by their product sales, which actually means that they are measured by something that actually they don't have direct impact on. So they can help, but they are not really owning or responsible for this field organization, which actually means that their bottom line is being handled by something that is out of their hands, which takes us to a very interesting phenomena that we are now recognizing, that we like to call it the uneducated salesman vicious cycle. However, this is just one use case that actually outlines what happens when one of our employees is not sufficient trained on his day-to-day job. So it actually starts with the lack of knowledge. For example, if you will take a software company that needs to sell both legacy products and next generation products, whether they are SaaS, software as a service, or whether they are just from a new generation. So what usually happens is that once the salesman is not familiar and is not trained enough on the new products, they will end up selling legacy products only. They will not be promoting any new capabilities because they are not familiar with that. I'm sure that each one of you had the ability to go one day to their products and they say, hey, this is new. When did we add this? So this is what is happening. And the last thing around the lack of knowledge is that actually they are promising things that they don't, that the product don't have, which actually can make the customer itself very frustrated. This actually creates the second phase of requests for information. So because the customer was not aware of that, and we get support calls, whether it's for help or whether it's for a request of information. This creates the same flood of unneeded emails. We saw in the previous slides that 77% of product managers answer email. So they get more emails on things that they need to know. So, and the last thing that happens, and we all are probably familiar with that, is we get called to sales calls that go through the night, where we, as the product manager or the development owner, need to go and to explain and to work hand with hand together with the salesman, together with the customer itself on the product and explaining and providing and filling in the gaps that was missed from the initial course. The last cycle actually creates frustrations. So we get unsatisfied customers because they were sold the product that they didn't need, or they were sold the legacy product. We get unsatisfied sales because they find it hard to get their job done. They find it hard to sell the product because they don't have the whole picture. We get unsatisfied management because nobody is delivering what they need and the customer is not happy. So the customer is not happy. We get escalations and we get our managers not happy, and we will be frustrated as well. And what we keep doing is, rather than looking forward to what's need to be done next in our product, then we are looking to keeping the deal alive and doing whatever it takes, sometimes spending a lot of effort and a lot of budget on making sure that we don't lose this customer, even though that it doesn't actually suits our needs in the product. And this is the cycle that keeps happening, and this is what happens when we are not trained enough. Which actually means that we are sorry for the term, but this is what happens, and this is, by the way, the initials of the third frustration phase. So my name is Ori Bendet. I'm an experienced product leader here in Time to Know. I'm currently the director of product management at Time to Know, responsible for iEcho, which is a digital platform targeted for small and medium businesses and also independent instructors to help them transfer into the world of digital learning and digital training. I started my career in HP. I started in engineering. I am a computer science graduate. I did 5 years of total engineering position. I started as an automation engineer, QA engineer, QA manager, and after 5 years, I switched over to product management. I was a product management in HP for 3 years, released several SaaS offering, and now I'm in Time to Know. A bit about Time to Know and what do we do. So we are providing training solutions with the experience of 12 years. We actually started as a philanthropic adventure here in Israel to help bring technology to schools. And we did that for 10 years. After that, we realized that it will be very hard to monetize the K-12, the elementary schools, and the rest of the traditional education. And we pivoted, and we are now focusing on corporate training all across. Our product is called Echo, and it is provides effective training with the ability to have blended, which actually means that the human factor here is very important. Our customers varies, and we have customers all over the world. We have customers from Israel, BDO, that is a very large financial school that provides certifications and training with our platform. We have Megafit, that they are a large gym network in China that is providing training to their gym instructors remotely rather than bringing everyone in. And we also have Takina, which is teaching the Maori language in New Zealand. So we have a very wide variety of customers all over the world. Our group actually consists of 3 different companies. One is Time to Know, that is targeted for the global corporate training world. We have our Israeli sister that is focused on delivering our solution to schools. And we also have Advantage, which is our accelerator for companies in the educational technology era. So I'm I'm now going to talk a bit about our challenges and what we did in order to avoid this vicious cycle of an uneducated field organization. So our challenges is, first of all, we are spread regionally. So we are working in 4 separate teams. Each team is divided and has its own responsibility. So we have a team working in Asia Pacific. We have a team working in EMEA, in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Sorry. We have a team working in Latin America. And we also have a team that is working on our B2C or mass market offering. These are working separately as squads. Each one of them is having its own backlog or its own roadmap. We are using, of course, the same product, but the idea here is to be powered by the business. So we make sure that we are aligned with the business need in a specific region. So for example, if we have a specific need to integrate with, let's say, WeChat in China, then we will be able to do that by the responsibility of our Asia Pacific team. We also have a distributed sales team. We are spread across the globe. They are constantly traveling. They are on conferences. They are on seminars. They are on customer sites, and they are less accessible to emails. Which actually, if we talked about the 1%, it actually means that they are probably have less than 1% to be trained. We also have partners. So our partners are external to our company. We don't have control of them, meaning they are not part of our organizational chart, and they have frequent changes in personnel. So we can have multiple partners come in 1 week or in 1 month. We have weekly releases. We release a major release every 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the need. We are feature flagged, meaning that we can control which feature is being deployed and released to each customer. And we have dynamic content. We are working agile and Scrum, so everything is being changed. We can start the sprint with one backlog and then change everything due to recent needs that were raised from the field. We also have hot fixes or too many hot fixes, and this is simply because we have to be aligned all the time. So if there is something that is hurting our customer, to proceed with their process, then we are fixing them as fast as possible. So on average, we can have as many as 16 different deployments to production every month, which is the average of between 2 to 3 or even more every week. So what did we do in order to avoid the vicious cycle? So we started by sending, Ido is a colleague of mine, and we started sending out email to our entire organization. So each field rep, each salesman, whether it's sales, pre-sales, or any other one that is customer facing, we believed will get this email. He would write this email, and then he will know and be trained on the product. However, we were very wrong, because everybody hates email. So nobody writes email. I usually come in the morning to the office and I have a couple dozens of emails that needs my attention, and I don't want to waste time on reading them. We can't track who read the emails, even if, and there are systems that are doing that, to track who opened it. We couldn't know who understood. And the understanding here was very critical, because we wanted to make sure that our field organization actually understand what we added and what value each feature is now bringing to the table, and how it can help the customer in their needs. And as we already mentioned, nobody likes to read emails. Everybody hates email. It's the number one time consuming in almost every organization, maybe number two after meetings. So this was how we did it at the beginning. And then we looked at other options. So we thought maybe we can do meetings. And this is, by the way, something that happens in a lot of other companies. Maybe we can meet with them once a week, and we started that. We try to do a weekly sync between the product manager and the business, the sales. However, everybody was very busy. They were traveling, they were at the customer site, so they couldn't attend the meeting. So we thought maybe let's do monthly. Let's meet once a month and then update everyone on what we changed. However, once a month when you release 3 times or 2 times a week, it's too long. So perhaps this wasn't the option. And quarterly was, of course, we probably change our product entirely when we're talking about a quarterly basis. Also, meetings are most time not recorded, and even if they are recorded, they are very hard to search for. And this is why we decided to stop with the meetings. So we decided in other companies, there is what is called the Sales Awareness Webinar, a SAW, and there is also the equivalent of a Technical Awareness Webinar, where you can have the focus not on the sales, on the finance and the pricing and everything, but on the technical additions. Another thing is that what we see is actually the need for just-in-time training. So our sales organization and actually every employee in the company is always busy, always traveling. We have time zone issues. So for example, if we want to be able to actually organize one meeting, even once a month or even once a week, that is across the globe. So we have salesmen in New Mexico, and we have a partner in Delhi, and we want to organize them in one time. So it's actually something that is almost, we have 1 hour a day that everybody is in the office. So it actually almost makes it impossible. The other possibility, of course, is actually to split the session into two for the Eastern or the Western, and then you duplicate the efforts. And of course, this is time consuming. And again, the need today is for just-in-time training. People don't want to spend time now on something that they will only use a week from now, a day from now, or even an hour from now. When they will have the need to be trained, this is when they will seek for the information. And let's focus a minute for what is actually just-in-time training. So just-in-time, as defined by Christopher Pappas, is having vital information for the employees when they need it the most. And the best example that I can give it here is actually the fact that, just think of it when you go to a customer meeting and you want to refresh the history that the company had with this customer. So if you are organized, you probably ask your customer success manager to actually prepare you a report. But as we live in the fast and furious world, then we probably have 5 minutes just before the meeting in the taxi. And this is where we need this information. So we want need kind of the executive summary on what is happening with these customers, which support ticket it had, which previous communication we had it with him, and then we will come to the meeting with the customer. And this is the one of the best example that we can give to just-in-time training. So the best practices for just-in-time is actually having micro-learning, what is called bite-size, or bite-size if you are from the computer world, and not only micro-learning, but also micro-topics. So don't teach me everything, but give me the topic that I will be able to search, that I will be able to understand exactly what it is going to talk about, whether it's a section or a feature in the product, whether it's a specific customer or a specific process or these types of things. So don't give me everything, give me small chunks, 2 to 4 minutes of learning, and that's it. I want it to be available anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Don't think that anyone will open its laptop or anything else to learn, or to connect to the corporate or to the company's network. They want it to be accessible all the time where they are right now, whether they are on the train, whether they are on the taxi to the customer, or whether they are in the airport waiting for their next flight. And also they want to be able to train just in time, even without internet. So think of how critical offline learning is also comes a major factor in this just-in-time training. The last thing, and we talked about it some in the beginning of the slide, is actually it has to be completely searchable. Think today, we don't go to the encyclopedia to search for things. We go to Google or we go to Wikipedia and we type what we are looking for. And this is the same thing, the same method that we need to allow our employees and our customers and our sales organization to have access to what they want to learn. So this was kind of defining the problem, and what can you do in order to solve this type of problems. So you can select a digital learning platform to help you solve this problem, and to allow each employee or each sale rep in the organization to have access to the material that he needs in order to make sure that he's ready and knows exactly what he needs to deliver. It has to be interactive, and it has to be measurable, because measuring is the most important item when delivering material in today's world. It can allow you to get constant feedback and insights on everything that you teach, and it should be easily accessible. Luckily for all of us, then there is a variety of options. These are just 12 different options that are available today. Of course, there are some open source, Moodle, Open edX, and the rest of them. There are some free. So if you want to start small, you can select out of those. As I mentioned before, myself in Time to Know, we have a free edition that allows you to get started with a small amount of learners. So it's up to you to select that. There are also specific verticals focused solution, whether you are in finance, whether you are in life science, and so forth and so on. So just make sure that you select whatever you want. And there is over 1,000 different solutions out there today for each of the different types of learning and digital learning solutions. So just make sure to do what you want to do. Sorry, the research on which tool best suits you, and then you are able to proceed. So for us, we selected a few tool which is less relevant for now, but our beginning wasn't that pleasant, and it was very, very hard. So what we did, the method that we selected is we created a microlearning, a small chunk of information directed to our sales organization, and we sent it to them through the system. And unfortunately for us, even though we really believed in this method, the beginning was very, very hard. And what we saw is that only 57 of them, only 21% of them actually completed this micro unit. And the performance, the average score was actually very low. And also they were spending less than 10 minutes on this type of training. However, we did look for our first win, for quick wins. And the first win that we had is that we knew exactly who didn't read. So the next time that we got an email from one of the sales reps, we were able to see whether they did the training on the new release or not. And then if they did, okay, then probably we need to fix something, or we need to help them understand better. But if they didn't read, then we were sending them to do the training and then go back to us, making sure that they realize the value of the solution that we provided them. The second one, of course, was we knew who read and who did the training. And the last thing that we got out of this digital platform was actually that we were able to get genuine feedback from our sales organization on how the product is delivering and which feature makes most sense and and which feature will help them close more deals. This is how it looks. So they really liked it, and you can see that the mobile, and they are giving us feedback on exactly what we added, and making sure that we keep an open dialogue between the product and the sales team. We also learned that competition between the different people is very nice. So we use the leaderboard, which is a type of gamification that to help us engage. So each employee was able to get points on whether he answered a question correctly, and which and also got points for helping out other employees. And this actually improved the engagement and encourages competition between the different departments and between the different sales reps. And also we decided that the top 3 will actually get a nice gift at the end of the month. However, competition in some cases is very nice, but we saw that actually being mean, and this is kind of funny because we actually introduced kind of a wall of shame rather than a wall of fame, to actually kind of in a human way to pin out who didn't do the different trainings that we had. And this is, by the way, the report that our CEO is now using before everything with our sales organization. So where do we stand right now? So we are in a much better way. You can see that we have most of our organization are doing the training. We still have a lot of work to do, and we are still making sure that both the material itself, that by the way is being created by the product management themselves, the product manager. So we don't outsource everything, but we create it one by one. So we still have a lot of work to do. So we do want to see 100% in both metrics, but it's still something that we are working on a daily basis. So it is a progress, it is baby steps, but this is where we stand right now. So what did we learn? So we start the most important thing, and by the way, it's regardless of where and which type of training you are doing. It's better to start small with the baby steps rather than to start big, because you need to run fast and to gain the first success, the first use case that brings you the value, and then the rest will follow. Because a lot of people are kind of afraid to going to this new world of digital learning, and it kind of scares people because they are very used to having the frontal training and these big events or the webinars that they like to come and spend a day, and it's kind of a ceremony to them. So start small, which is better than starting big, which is much better than not starting at all. Regarding engagement, I'm sure that you all read that an image is much better than text on social media, and of course also video. So the same applies when talking about digital learning. So video will be the most engaged item to offer. And the best way to do it from our experience is actually by taking small chunks of the product, doing a very high level overview of the feature, a couple of clicks. It can be 10 seconds, it can be 15 seconds, it can be 1 minute, and then put it as an item on its own and add questions on top of that. And also, if you want to make it a bit even shorter, then you can use GIFs, which actually might be even simpler to produce. And it doesn't have to be a very fancy edited video. It just needs to be something that shows the benefit and the use of a feature or of a part of a product, and that's it. Afterwards, an image is very easy to produce. You can just put a screenshot of your product, and it should be it. And in the worst case, you can have text. People don't like to read. We talked about it. They are impatient. They don't like to read a lot of text. So text should be your last option in order to make sure that your audience is engaged. The last thing that we had is actually the wall of shame. And perhaps this is just something of the culture, but we found out that being mean, showing who didn't do the training, was more useful rather than having a wall of fame to showing who is right now ranked number 1. The last thing, and this will be the last slide, and then we will be able to open it into question, is something that it's related almost to anything about engaging in a new way, is that this is a great quote from William Thompson, and he said that if you can't measure it, then you can't improve it. So even if you don't have anything at all, make sure that you have a way to measure it. So if you don't want to implement a digital platform or a learning or any other platform, just measure how many emails you get a day regarding sales, how many emails you get regarding requests from information on your product, how many support tickets are being opened due to lack of information, due to customers that were promised one feature but didn't get it. And this way you can start creating a baseline, making sure that you know where you stand today, and then think of ways to improve. And once you measure it, once you have the baseline, then you can improve it. Because a lot of companies, they don't have anything, and they just work with what they have. So they might have 100 support tickets, they might have 1,000 emails regarding sales in emails. But once you start measuring, only then you can improve. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Thank you, Ori. That was a really great session, and once again, thank you for being with us for a second time on Srijan Wednesday webinars. So I have a couple of questions here with me, and if any of our other listeners have any other questions, they can just put it in their chat boxes, and I'll be able to take them up with Ori. So the first question that I sort of had was that a digital learning platform or a digital learning solution is a sort of a new thing that enterprises would have to introduce within their organizations and uh, within their work culture. So how easy or difficult do you think companies find it when they sort of introduce a digital learning platform for the first time? What are the sort of normal challenges that you expect?
So that's actually a great question, especially because today there are many traditional learning systems that usually get a very, let's call it, bad reputation from the employees. So first of all, the first thing would be, why is it better than what we have today? And the second question is, why is it better than simply sending the presentation or the slide or the Word document in email? And the question can be very easy. The first problem is, why is it different from today, from what we have today? If you have anything, is that first, it is targeted for this specific need. It is targeted for today's modern learners to help them achieve their day-to-day activity. And regarding why simply not send it in an email, then the question is because you can't measure emails, and emails are not an effective way of delivering information. So you can send out the presentation over email. However, you will never know who read it and who really understood it. And as we just saw, this is a crucial part in delivering and in selling your product.
Okay, understood. So, in terms of the technology that these digital learning platforms use to sort of keep track of or to be able to measure all of this activity that is being done by the learners, can you shed some light on what is the technology working behind the scenes to make all of this possible?
So of course, it has to be software as a service because you don't want to have an installation. We see today less and less organizations that are afraid of software as a service, that are afraid of the cloud. We see a lot of even the most the most secure organization, whether they are banking or insurance, now have a legit cloud policy. And by the way, the reason for that is not the digital platform or any other system, but simply because of the business needs. So I, as a business, need to run faster. And one of the way to do that is using software as a service and to use cloud. And this is why they are doing that. So it's probably started with business critical application, whether it's Salesforce or Workday. Salesforce is the CRM, Workday just as an example for an HR system. And then once the first hurdle of implementing a SaaS solution was out of the way, and now most organizations have this type of a cloud policy, of external cloud policy, of external vendor, then you are able to proceed, of course, with all of the required security checks and audits to have the digital platform. So SaaS, of course, is a mandatory item. The anywhere, anytime, any device. It's also crucial. We see verticals and we see regions that mobile is not the first option, but it's the only option. So you have to make sure that it is accessible on any device and also on any network. So we're talking about not only having it in ideal Wi-Fi or ideal network conditions, but also in 2G or no G, or as I mentioned before, also offline. And the last thing is you need to make sure that it satisfies your needs, and it is very easy and simple to start using.
All right. Okay. So the next question that I have with me is that in order to make adopting a digital learning solution, we need to get this business stakeholders behind the proposition, and they need to buy into the fact that this is actually going to be helpful. So how is it that you convince the upper level of business stakeholders? Is there a way to sort of somehow showcase how this digital learning or better learning in the enterprise is going to connect to the bottom line or connect to revenues?
Of course. So the first, simply show them the numbers, help them understand how much they are losing or how much they are investing in day to day. And I can give you an example from one of our customers. They are using a digital platform to train their technical engineers on how to fix a medical device. So what they would do before is actually that they will take all of their engineers spread across 25 different locations, fly them in for a couple of days every month or every quarter and train them, and then everybody goes back. What they were able to do with a digital learning platform is actually they were able to distribute the learning through the platform, and then rather than having everybody come in, everybody simply did it on their own, and they did it whenever they wanted. And this way, they reduced the travel cost and they reduced the training time, and they didn't hurt the results. So this is, and I don't want to sound to make. I just want to make sure that you understand that this is just an example, but understand where today the biggest pain and where do you spend the most budget on training. And every organization is doing any sort of training today. So it's not only about travel. Travel is one example, but once you can measure it, so it can be the travel, it can be the support cases, the email, then you can create the use case to your management and saying, listen, if we go, if we invest in this platform, it will cost us X, while we will also save the traveling cost, the frontal time, and this way the ROI will be something that will be easier to explain to management.
Okay. I have one last question with me here, which is that you mentioned a key feature of going into the digital learning platform is that you should have micro learning modules. So the reason for having micro learning modules is it simply because the modern learner has less attention span and less time, or is it also because micro learning, the effect of micro learning is sort of easier to measure?
So it's simply because the model learner is this is the way that it is expected to learn. Measuring whether it's a 50 minutes or a 5 minutes video, the technology for measuring it is the same. However, I don't think that any one of us today has the patience to sit in front, to sit statically in front of a screen and watch a 50 or 1 hour training. I know that I don't. So everything should be broken down into small chunks of information, 2, 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes tops. This is the way that the modern employee, the modern learner is equipped to learn. And this is the attention span that they will probably have on average. Of course, there are other people that perhaps are able to study for longer, but regarding the baseline and the benchmark today is microlearning, simply because the learner this is the attention span that he will probably have.
Okay, all right. So I think that's all the questions that I have with me here. So thank you once again, Ori, for joining us today and sharing this insightful session. And thank you to all the attendees who joined the webinar today. And for everyone who missed it, they will sort of receive the webinar recording in their inboxes by this time tomorrow. So once again, thank you everyone for being here today. And this is Nilajana signing out.